What's going on, everybody? Theo Greminger here, and I'm going to give you my top 5 NFL free agents for 2024. And I'm not giving you top 5 for every single position. I'm giving you the top 5 free agents for fantasy football purposes. Skill position only here. You want to find out about defenders, offensive linemen? Go find that somewhere else. Right now, I'm talking only fantasy football relevant players. And I'm starting right at the top. And my number 1 free agent, there's some really exciting guys in this class that could make huge impacts for our fantasy team. But my number 1 free agent that could shake up the entire market is Kirk Cousins. And why Kirk Cousins? Because Kirk Cousins is by far the most appealing quarterback that's going to enter the free agent market this year. He's 35 years old. But last year, before he got hurt, Kirk Cousins was leading the NFL in touchdown passes. He had 18 touchdown passes when he went down with a season-ending injury. And as much excitement as we have for the running backs and wide receivers on our list, no player has more potential to impact fantasy than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins would be an upgrade at quarterback for about half of the NFL. I anticipate that Minnesota is going to try to make things right with Cousins and re-sign him, but we're talking about a mega contract. And Cousins at 35 years old is going to be looking for multiple seasons with guaranteed money. If Minnesota is not ready to give him a total number of seasons, then we could see Cousins ending up on a team like Atlanta, ending up on a team like Las Vegas, ending up on a team like Denver or New England. There's a bunch of teams that could look at Cousins and say, this is a guy who could get things right. How would we look at Drake London if he was attached to Kirk Cousins? How would we look at Kyle Pitts if he was attached to Kirk Cousins? Both of those guys would see an upgrade in the way we look at them. How about Devontae Adams in Las Vegas? Devontae Adams with Kirk Cousins or Devontae Adams with Aiden O'Connell? I mean, I think we can do the math on that one. How about the Denver Broncos? How about Cortland Sutton with Kirk Cousins or Cortland Sutton with some mystery quarterback right now? And then New England, if they were to get Kirk Cousins and draft, how about Marvin Harrison Jr., you could be talking about a Justin Jefferson-like performance sooner than later out of Harrison Jr. So for that reason, Kirk Cousins is my number 1 free agent target for any position, because of the doors he could open up fantasy-wise. My number 2 free agent, and there's a couple of them in this class at this position, but it's got to be Mike Evans. Mike Evans is my number 1 wide receiver on this list. And some of you are going to say, yo, Theo, what about these younger wide receivers that are like 4 or 5 years younger than Mike Evans who are also available as free agents? And I got to say, when it comes down to it, there's some really good wide receivers after Evans, but we cannot ignore the level of play Mike Evans is giving us right now in fantasy. Evans has been the model of consistency in Tampa Bay right now. He has had 10 straight seasons of 1,000 or more receiving yards, and he's had 5 seasons with 12 or more touchdown catches. Evans led the NFL in touchdown receptions in 2023, and he averaged 16.6 points per game in PPR. This is the kind of player that a bunch of teams are going to look at and say, Mike Evans is going to help us make a Super Bowl run. And I think that there's going to be teams looking like Kansas City and Buffalo, Cincinnati, if they choose to move on from T. Higgins. There's a bunch of teams right now in the AFC that could look at Mike Evans and say, this is the key for me to get to a Super Bowl. There's also going to be some teams that look at Mike Evans and say, I got money. I want to go sign him. The wild card here is going to be the Houston Texans. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and how about Mike Evans as a wide receiver trio? I think we'd want to draft C.J. Stroud in that situation. You also could have Tampa Bay just paying Mike Evans the money that he deserves and reuniting him with Baker Mayfield and just rolling. And that's the end of his career. He plays in Tampa Bay his entire career. But Mike Evans, I think, is going to test the waters. And Mike Evans is going to be very much in demand for a lot of teams in the NFL. My number 3 wide receiver available, or overall player available, and at staying at the wide receiver position, is Michael Pittman Jr. And this one I feel a little funny about, because it would be shocking to me if Indianapolis did not at least franchise tag Pittman or give him a well-deserved long-term contract. But it's had a perfect storm last year. Michael Pittman had the highest total catches in his entire career with 109 last year. He stepped up when Anthony Richardson went down and Gardner Minshew took over, and Pittman was an absolute target magnet. He had a 30.5% target share. Again, posted career highs in targets, catches, receiving yards, and air yards heading into his contract season. Perfect timing for Pittman. He's established himself as one of the NFL's top possession receivers. It's almost a no-brainer for Indianapolis to franchise tag him, but who knows? This league can be funny, and if Michael Pittman is somehow available on the open market, there is going to be a line of about 2/3 of the teams in the NFL trying to make it happen. Pittman is a target magnet, and he's only 26 years old. My number 4 free agent available this year is T. Higgins. T. Higgins is 25 years old. It feels like he's been in the league a long, long time, but he's still only 25 years old. And we've yet to see Higgins as the number 1 target on a team. He's played with Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is a proper alpha. But there's a lot of teams who look at T. Higgins and say, this guy can be my wide receiver 1. He had a slightly disappointing 2023 season. But when you look at his sample size as a pro, he's flashed big playability. He's got relative youth at 25 years old. 25 years old, he's only a little bit older than some of the wide receivers in this draft class. And he's posted 2 seasons in his career with over 1,000 receiving yards. And he's also caught 24 passes as an NFL, 24 touchdown passes as an NFL player. This is the kind of player where you look at T. Higgins and you say, T. Higgins' best season is in front of him. And I think a lot of NFL teams would see him that way. I think that there's a chance that a team like Jacksonville, a team like Houston, there's multiple teams, Carolina Panthers. There's a lot of teams that are looking at T. Higgins saying, that's my guy. And unlike Mike Evans, T. Higgins is young. You could make a case that T. Higgins would be the number 1 free agent, but I have him at 4 overall. My number 5 free agent available this year is Saquon Barkley, and he's the only running back that I have that's going to crack our top 5 overall. And a couple of you are saying, yo, Theo, running backs don't matter. Well, Saquon matters. And if Saquon Barkley is franchise tagged by New York, this is all moot. And he'll be a giant next year. And I think his points per game would stay about the same as they were this year. But Saquon, I don't know. I get a feeling that New York might let him walk. And if New York lets him walk and they go in a different direction this year, then Saquon Barkley is going to have a long line of teams looking to sign him. It would be one of the most pivoting free agent running back signings ever for us who play fantasy football. Barkley bounced back from an injury-plagued 2020 where he only played like 2 games. And then he had a disappointing 2021, but he's had back-to-back seasons with 17.8 and 15.9 points per game, and he's had 20 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. His receiving ability and his strong running ability make Barkley an instant impact player for wherever he lands. Saquon can step into a number of offensive systems and still give you that high level of production. He's had 5 seasons in his career with 40 or more receptions. And with his skill set, the right offensive coordinator is going to say, Saquon Barkley is a guy who's going to catch 60 to 65 passes for us in whatever offense. This running back class is very deep, but Saquon Barkley is the biggest domino that could possibly fall, and he has the biggest potential fantasy impact of any free agent running back on the market. I'm Theo Greminger. Stick with us here at Player Profiler. Look for all my written work on playerprofiler.com and videos like this right here on Player Profiler YouTube. You're in the right place to get you ready for everything you need to crush it this offseason.